elections and other certain areas as well, if you're wondering why I'm facilitating the meeting at this point. So if we would, I would like to, on behalf of the board, we would like to welcome our reappointed Hillsborough County representatives, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Myers, and Commissioner Wastel. Hillsborough County also appointed Mr. Adam Niebrick as an additional representative to the board who brings leadership experience, technical expertise, and community dedication to his business and community roles. Mr. Niebrick is a U.S. Coast Guard Academy graduate with a degree in electrical engineering and began his career serving 2 years at sea as a junior officer before transitioning into aviation. Following his aviation career, Mr. Niebrick became one of the founding members of the JEKA Software, Inc., a Tampa Bay-based technology startup, where he leads the company as it develops and supports its core product, Sarin, an innovative platform to create and deploy artificial intelligence agents. Mr. Niebrick is engaged in community service, serving as a board member for the Florida Response Team, doing business as Help Now project, chair for the Cheval West Community Development District, and as treasurer for the Cheval West Community Association. He is a resident of Lutz and lives with his family and their beloved rescue dog, Daisy. Welcome, Commissioner Niebrick, and is there anything that you would like to say to the board?
No, but thank you for that introduction. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Let's see. We went over public comment, so let me go back. Next is public comment, and I believe there was no one pre-registered to speak. Is that correct? Is there anyone present who wishes to speak during public comment?
Yes, we have a list.
It's on the agenda. This public comment is on the agenda items. I have others later on.
Is this for later or
Yes,
now?
for later,
Okay,
for general matters.
okay. So this, the public comment that we have listed is for general matters, which we will take up later in the meeting. I'm sorry. Do we have any public comment on agenda items? I don't know what the feedback is. Okay, moving on at this point. We have elections and appointments. Next item is the officer elections, which I will chair, as I described. And before we begin the elections, Director Williams submitted the following statement that she asked that I read into the record. She would like to thank the board for the opportunity to serve as your secretary for the past 3 years, as it was an honor to do so, and will pass the baton graciously. I would also like to add that both Directors Schisler and Williams indicated that they would accept. This is not Ms. Williams, this is my comment. I would also like to add that both Directors Schisler and Williams indicated they would accept any roles and appointments assigned or elected thereto today. Board officers are elected through an open process, and nominations are accepted from the floor. In accordance with HART Board Policy 120, General Operations of HART, Section 120.03, officers. And I'd like to go ahead and read this since we do have several new folks on the board. There shall be elected by the board from among the members of the board a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary at the first January meeting each year through an open process with nominations accepted from the floor. Board counsel is to chair the election process as a neutral party. HART Board officers' positions are to be filled by at least one county elected representative, with the exception of the requirement that at least one county elected representative, any other board member may be elected to serve as an officer. All officers shall be elected for a term of 1 year or until the officer's successor is duly qualified and shall serve at the pleasure of the board. A board member may serve the board in consecutive terms as an officer in various capacities. However, no board member shall serve in the same capacity for more than 3 consecutive terms as an officer. The process that I will ask for nominations from the floor which do not require a second. Once nominations are closed, I will ask the board members to vote on the nominations in order received to identify one board member with the majority of votes. The last step will be to confirm the board officer's election with a motion by the board. Do I have any questions on the process? Okay. The first officer position is chairperson of the HART Board of Directors. Director Vieira served as HART Board Chair in 2024, one term. Do I have any nominations from the floor? Yes, sir.
Nominate Louis Vera to run again.
And as the nominations are received, I will be asking those that are nominated whether they would accept the nomination before we continue to move on. Mr. Vieira, will you accept the nomination? Are there any other nominations?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to nominate my colleague, Gary Hartfield.
Mr. Hartfield, would you accept that nomination?
I'd be honored, yes.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are now closed. Since we have more than one nomination, staff, if you would poll the board members for the selection for their chairperson.
Director Vieira.
Vieira.
Director Wolstel.
Vieira.
Director Hartfield.
Hartfield,
Director Henderson.
Vieira.
Director King.
Hartfield.
Director Knight. Director McAlpatrick.
Vera.
Director Mechanic.
Vieira.
Director Miller.
Vieira.
Director Myers. Director Niebrick.
Vieira.
Director Vieira has the majority votes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, directors. At this time, if I could have a motion for the, Mr. Vieira to be elected as chair from the board, please.
So moved.
Second.
second.
Are we going to do roll call? Thank you.
Director Vieira.
Yes.
Director Wolstel.
Yes.
Director Hartfield.
Yes,
Director Henderson.
Yes.
Director King.
Yes.
Director Knight.
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick.
Yes.
Director Mechanic.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Myers.
Yes.
Director Niebrick.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, directors. I will continue the election for officers. The next position is vice chairperson of the HART Board of Directors. Director Walsall has served in this capacity in 2024. Do I have nominations for the floor for the HART Board vice chairperson?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Whistle, Director Whistle.
Commissioner Whistler, will you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Yes, sir?
Nominate Gary Hartfield.
Mr. Hartfield, would you accept this nomination?
yes, I'd be honored, thank you.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed, and we will poll the directors for the position of vice chairperson.
Chair Vieira.
Wolsel.
Director Wolstel.
Wolstel.
Director Hartfield.
Hartfield,
Director Henderson.
Hartfield.
Director King.
Wussel.
Director Knight.
Hartsfield.
Director McAlpatrick.
Westall.
Director Mechanic.
Wostel.
Director Miller.
Whistle.
Director Myers.
Hartfield.
And Director Niebrick.
Westall.
Director Wolstel has majority votes.
Thank you, congratulations, and if I could have a motion so staff can record the votes and announce, we've already announced the voting results. Could I have a motion,
So made.
So-
second? Second?
Chair Viera,
Yes.
Director Wostel,
Yes.
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director Henderson,
Yes.
Director King,
Yes.
Director Knight,
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Myers,
Yes.
Director Niebrick.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The final position is Secretary of the HART Board of Directors, served by Director Williams in 2024, who has reached her term limit of the 3 years for this position, meaning a new board member must be chosen. Do I have nominations from the floor for Secretary of the Board of Directors?
I nominate Gil Sisler.
And Mr. Schisler has indicated that he will accept all nominations and appointments in the election, so we'll move on. Is there any other nominations? Yes, sir? Mr. Hartfield, would you accept that nomination?
Yes, ma'am, I'd be honored.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. If we could poll the directors, please.
Chair Viera,
Schisler.
Director Wostel,
Schisler.
Director Hartfield,
Hartfield.
Director Henderson,
Hartfield.
Director King,
Schisler.
Director Knight,
Hartsfield.
Director McAlpatrick,
Schisler.
Director Mechanic,
Schlissler.
Director Miller,
Schisler.
Director Myers,
Hartfield.
Director Niebrick.
Schisler.
Director Schisler had the majority votes.
Thank you. And may I have a motion to accept the,
Second.
Chair Viera,
Yes.
Director Wostel,
Yes.
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director Henderson,
Yes.
Director King,
Yes.
Director Knight,
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Myers,
Yes.
Director Niebrick.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
thank you. Congratulations to all the newly elected HART Board officers. If it's okay with the newly elected chair, Mr. Vieira, I will continue the elections for continuity. The process of democracy, tedious but important. I would like to draw attention to the printout of the elections and appointments summary and the committee structure for reference. You also have received this in your board packet. Has everybody been able to review it and willing to move on? Yes?
Yes.
Excellent. I will ask that the board elect alternatives. I would like to draw attention to the printout for the committee structure for reference. So if you would, I would ask that the board elect alternates for each position. Having alternates is very important for meeting quorums for the committee meetings. The next election is for a member and an alternate for the Litigation and Claims Committee. This committee has one board member representation. It meets as needed on the first Monday of the month following the HART Board meeting. According to the survey of preference, Directors King and McAlpatrick were interested in serving as a member, and Directors McAlpatrick and Schisler were interested as serving as alternates. Are there any nominations for a member and an alternate other than those that have indicated? Okay, we have no nominations other than those that have been indicated. So, let's see.
Want to close it?
Director King and McAlpatrick. So we don't, Director King and McAlpatrick, you were both interested as members. And Mr. McAlpatrick, you were interested also as an alternate, and Mr. Schisler was interested as an alternate. Would we like to vote? Would you like to take you suggested that you would like to serve on that as a nomination.
I'd be happy to continue in that role, but I don't want to rain on anyone's parade.
I'm sorry. And there were no nominations that were suggested. We just had those two. So, who's ever online, could you close your mic, please? Thank you. I'm just not sure that we need, are we taking elections for this committee? Because committees are normally appointed by the chair.
Similar to the process we just did, we just normally ask the board for any nominations for members to serve as a member or an alternate on that committee.
Okay, so since we'll go about in that process, and I apologize, I was thinking of a different level of committees. Director King and Director McAlpatrick has indicated that they would be interested in being nominated as members. Would a director like to nominate one of, well, as a member of the committee, please?
I'll nominate Director King. This is David Mechanic.
Thank you. And I'm going to presume that you would accept that nomination. So we'll take a, and could I have a nomination? Mr. McAlpatrick indicated a willingness to serve on that committee as well, or as an alternate. If I have no more nominations for the member, the nominations will be closed, and Mr. King will serve as the member to that committee. Could I have a nomination for an alternate? Mr. McAlpatrick and Mr. Schisler have indicated interest in serving on that committee as alternates.
Madam Chair, I nominate Brian McAlpatrick for that role.
Thank you. Mr. McAlpatrick, would you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations as alternate to that committee?
Also, as an alternate, Councilmember Schisler.
Okay. I think we can have more than one alternate to these.
Right.
No. All right, we have 2 nominations. Any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed, and we'll poll for the alternate to the Litigation and Claims Committee. Please.
Chair Viera,
It's McAlpatrick and,
Schisler.
Mr.
okay,
Schisler.
McAlpatrick, if I may.
Director Wilsel,
Yes.
we're choosing between Director McAlpatrick or Director Schisler for the alternate position for the Litigation
Litigation
and Claims
Claims.
Committee.
Oh. I mean, it looks like Schisler is on a lot of them already, so I'll say McAlpatrick.
Thank you. Director Hartfield,
McAlpatrick.
Director Henderson,
Same, McAlpatrick.
Director King,
McAlpatrick.
Director Knight,
Schisler.
Director McAlpatrick,
McAlpatrick.
Director Mechanic,
I'm sorry, I'll start saying it correctly.
McAlpatrick.
thank you, sir. Director Miller,
McAlpatrick.
Director Myers,
McAlpatrick.
Director Niebrick.
McAlpatrick.
Director McAlpatrick has the votes.
Thank you, Mr. McAlpatrick. The next election is for a member and alternate for the ADA Accessibility Committee. This committee has one board member representation with an alternate and meets quarterly. According to the survey, Director Williams was interested in serving in the member capacity, and there was no one that expressed interest in serving in the alternate capacity. Are there any nominations for member and alternates?
Williams.
She indicated that she would accept, since she wouldn't be here. Did Ms. Williams indicate that she would accept the nominations as Mr. Schisler had done? Do we know?
I think she said she was interested.
Okay.
To close
so-
it on the said name.
Pardon me?
I move to close it.
Thank you. Then Ms. Director Williams is the member for the ADA Accessibility Committee. And do we have a nomination for an alternate, please? I don't think I have any.
As a general point of order, thank you. Every single one of these has someone that expressed interest on them. Would it be possible for us to just move to accept the expressed interests as the new nominees for every single one of these?
I can see your, thank you for your comment. I can see your point with regard to the efficiency of time and moving forward with this. I'm not sure that that would be the best in moving forward in case someone was unhappy with the results and I didn't have anything on the record indicating it, that we had taken action on each individually.
But it doesn't look like more people expressed interest than there are allotted roles.
Let me double check. Have we ever?
And then there's room for vacancies, so if somebody expressed desire on the very next meeting, we could simply say, yes, you can join that committee.
Second.
So you're making a motion to,
I move to approve all of those that expressed interests for all committees and boards on their voluntary appointments.
I'll second it.
Second,
those are for, could I clarify that would be for internal committees? You're not including the external board committees as well, are you, Commissioner Wassel?
Yes, I am. All committees and boards. And just for a matter of point to my colleagues, there is not one category of expressed interests that greater than the amount of current members that are currently assigned, and there appears to still be vacancies. So if anybody had a bleeding desire to join one of these boards or committees, we could simply approve them on that same board meeting, and we can move this along.
That was a motion,
and I repeat my second.
and you had a
Thank
second.
you.
Is there any discussion?
I call the question.
Okay. Can we take a poll on the motion, please?
Chair Viera,
Yes.
Director Woolstle,
Yes.
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director Henderson,
Yes.
Director King,
Yes.
Director Knight,
Yes.
Director McCullough,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes, and thank you, Commissioner.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Myers,
Yes.
Director Niebuhr.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Sorry for the giggle. Just to clarify and for a point of the record, we have within the packet the indications of all of the different committees and the indications from the directors as to what they would be willing to serve. We are also including for external board appointments, those folks that had also indicated their willingness to serve, and that would be for the Tampa Historic Streetcar Board. It would be for the, I want to make sure that I've got everyone here. So the ADA, the Tampa Historic Streetcar Board Directors Henderson, Schisler, and Williams were interested in serving as the member capacities. Director Mechanic interested in serving as HART representative, but he serves as a city representative, so he would not be able to serve in those dual roles. We also have member and alternates for the Transportation Planning Organization Board. Director King was interested in serving in the member capacity. Director Schisler was interested in serving as an alternate. Then it was for a member and alternate for the Transportation Disadvantaged Coordinating Board. Director Schisler was interested in serving in either the member or the alternate capacity. And member and alternate for the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. And Director Williams was interested in serving as the member. That is the complete list. I appreciate you letting me read that into the record. And at this point, this concludes all appointments by the full board. Thank you for your patience and your guidance and advice and direction. At this point, we would pick up the agenda at approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
And do I, okay, sorry,
I'm
and we
turning
have
this
a
back
motion,
over.
I think, by Commissioner Wosel, I think seconded by Commissioner Myers. Roll call if we may.
Chair Viera,
Yes.
Director Wolstel.
Yes.
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director Henderson,
Yes.
Director King,
Yes.
Director Knight, Director McAlpatrick,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Myers.
Yes.
Director Niebuhr.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and and pardon my voice, I had the flu and I sound like, I'm past the flu, but just my voice isn't the best. Congratulations to the newly elected HART Board officers and all appointees to various external boards, as well as ADA accessibility and litigation and claims committees. According to HART policy, quote, all HART committee appointments are to be made by the HART Board chair, but committee leadership will be elected by the committee's members at their first scheduled meeting, end quote. To expedite the process in lieu of the scheduled January 13th committee meetings, and based on the interest expressed in the survey of preference, I would like to appoint all those members who express interest in serving on the HART Board committees, and they are as follows. For Finance and Audit Committee, expressed interests were Board Member King, Board Member Schisler, Board Member Williams. For Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee, express interest were Board Member King, Board Member McElpatrick, Board Member Mechanic, Board Member Schisler, and Board Member Williams. For Operations and Safety Committee, express interests were Board Member Henderson, Board Member King, Board Member McElpatrick, Board Member Schisler, Board Member Williams. And then for Charter Review, express interests were Board Member King, Board Member Mechanic, and Board Member Schisler. This results in 2 vacancies on the Finance and Audit Committee and Charter Review Ad Hoc Committee. Are there any interest from board members on these 2 very important committees? Yes, sir.
Go back with the finance and audit committee and also the operations.
For yourself, sir? Okay, yes, sir. So Board Member Knight, you said for, what was that again, for
Finance and audit committee
audit? Okay,
and operations.
okay, yes, sir. Do we have any other nominations for these 2 committees for audit and operations and safety? Okay, Being none, would it be proper to have a vote on board member night being on these? Is that, or do I just hereby appoint?
You just.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, well, congratulations, there you go. Yes, sir, thank you very much for that, sir. And we also have, that would mean, correct me if I'm wrong, we still have an opening on the charter review, correct? Okay, is there anyone who would be interested? Yes, sir.
I think I'm already on the list now.
I'm sorry, what, sir?
Already on the list.
Okay, yourself, okay. Do you have anybody you'd like to nominate, sir, or?
No, you were asking.
These are
Oh.
committee appointments.
So, okay, so I'm sorry, I thought we had an opening, so there is not an opening on that? There is,
Yes.
okay, so there still is an opening on that.
He's got an interest, so you can ask John on his.
Yeah, I.
Oh, okay, well, are you, or would you like to be appointed to that, sir?
Very much so.
But he's already,
He's already.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll just move on, okay. That's funny, okay, okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Director Hartfield, go ahead, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For our external board appointments, for the TPO board, what's, I'm currently serving on that board. What's the board's direction on that vote? I didn't understand if I missed something.
Yes, sir. You know, we can inquire with our council on that. I mean, my view is you're a member in good standing with voting authority on a very active board. It goes, but, so thank you for serving on that, obviously. But, Ms. McLean, is that so? I mean, that appointment is still so, correct?
The member and alternate for the Transportation Planning Committee, is that the?
TPO, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Meets every Wednesday according to the survey. Director King was interested in serving in the member capacity, and Director Schisler was interested in serving as the alternate. I'm sorry. So we needed we did it by acclamation.
If I may,
Okay.
and let's, Board Member King, then Board Member Myers, go ahead.
In the interest of expediency and clarity, I withdraw my interest as a replacement for Mr. Hart, my colleague, Mr. Hartfield here. I would be happy to serve as an alternate if
Yes,
he
sir.
needs one.
And if I may, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Hartfield, you were asking about the status of the board's appointment, correct, to the TPO?
That is correct.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, your position on it, I don't think is in dispute. Board Member Myers, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chair, because we just appointed Mr. Hart, Director Hartfield, 2 board meetings ago, and so you
Yep.
still
Yeah.
have all rights to serve on the TPO.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Council.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, you're still good. And again, and thank you for serving on that, because I was on that board for 3 years, and that's not an easy board. So thank you. Thank you very much, sir. And we already approved the minutes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So next, we go to a review on action items with a presentation. The HART Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee met on June 17th of last year and advanced action item 6A, resolution number R2025-01-01, approve the FY fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year through fiscal year 2034 Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report to submit to the Florida Department of Transportation for the full board consideration and action. To our CEO Drainville, if you don't mind introducing the item, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, board members.
Good morning.
The Transit Development Plan, or TDP, is a multi-year business plan for any transit system. FDOT requires transit system to prepare a major update of the TDP every 5 years and a minor update annually, as explained in Chapter 14-73.001 of the Florida Administrative Code. The progress report was completed in-house by staff. Mr. Willits, Director of Planning and Scheduling, will present.
Good morning, Chair, CEO Drainville, and board members. Justin Willits, Director of Planning and Scheduling. Here to present the Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report, or APR, which is a minor update in between some major updates. And I'll treat this as everyone's first time because it's a few of your first times, so bear with me. As the CEO touched on, the TDP is a multi-year operating plan that we have to produce, so FDOT requirement. to receive state funding. Our last major update was done in 2022. We are now in a APR, progress report year of 2024. And next year, we'll start working after the completion of the COA, which I will talk about later. We'll start working on the 2026 major update, which is every 5 years. So what is in a TDP? Progress report. We highlight past year's accomplishments compared to the original implementation program, analyze discrepancies between the plan and its implementation for the past year, highlight revisions to the implementation program, just touch on the revised 10th year, which is the new year, and then add recommendations for the new 10th year of the updated plan. We also complete a revised financial plan and revisit the list of projects and services that are needed that may have changed over the previous 12 months. One important thing is a few of these revised TDP rules. As of July 9th, 2024, FDOT revised the TDP rule implementing key changes for agencies. One of the reasons this was approved at committee in June was because of this legislative change. This is why it went from September to March 1st of the following year. A lot of agencies, including HART, asked for extensions in that submittal because of just the timing didn't work well with budgeting, and the state recognized that and changed it, so big thanks to them. Next bullet here is required enhanced collaboration with the TPOs and MPOs to ensure more comprehensive regional transit planning, and we're about to engage them and present the TDP APR to their various committees as well. And it updated the TDP rule guidance from FDOT. Actually, the updated TDP rule guidance from FDOT is still being developed, and then future TDP progress reports and major updates will follow that guidance once it is published. It's not released yet. So some of the highlights here, some of our funded needs, partially funded needs included maintaining existing service, improving frequency on a few of our key routes, some additional funded projects that were new this year were the Fare Free project with the City of Tampa that we kicked off the weekday service today, and the Streetcar circulator that is tentatively funded by the City of Tampa and pending an application with FDOT. Our funded needs, including partially funded needs, the heavy maintenance facility is our biggest one, replacement of our diesel CNG fleet and paratransit vans, Phase 2, the streetcar rebuilds, and the CAT AVL upgrade. Our unfunded needs, quite extensive, and the service department, frequency improvements, new local bus service and express service, and on-demand services, rapid transit corridors, and the TCO streetcar extension. And on the capital side, streetcar vehicle replacement and extension, a City of Tampa priority, the Tampa Arterial Bus Rapid Transit Project, various needs for the Marion Transit Center, Flamingo Fairs, bus stops throughout the service area, transit centers in growing East and South County, rehabilitation of the Net Park Transit Center, revenue vehicles, state of good repair, and bus fleet replacement and expansion, paratransit, and fixed guideway service improvements associated with the streetcar. So our main needs, as you all are mostly aware, are frequency improvements to get back to previous levels of service. The 4 routes there you see, we're striving to get back to 15 minutes. The Route 1, as of today, is back to 15 minutes all day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Routes 6, 34, and 400 are still currently at 20 minutes. Routes 39 and 45, we'd like to improve to 20-minute service. And then there's a large list of routes that were previously at 30 minutes that are now hourly that we'd like to get back to 30 minutes to improve that level of service for our customers. And then we'd also like to improve the express routes that are hourly all day to 30 minutes, and that's the 275LX from New Tampa and Wesley Chapel to University area and downtown, and the 360LX from East County to downtown and McDill. This was a specific request by at least one, probably several board members, to kind of describe where we were before Mission Max was completed in 2017 and 2018, where we were pre-COVID in 2020, and where we are today. So we've basically got pre-COVID here as the baseline of 100%. We base that off of, this is a weekday snapshot, right? So before the Mission Max program was implemented, we had about 7% more hours than we did pre-COVID. There were several routes that were eliminated for that, and those are shown at the very bottom row there. Routes 4, 18, 41, 46, and several LX routes. This was specific to, I think, Councilman Schisler's request, so I won't go into too much depth here. I can talk with him about this if we need to. But basically, where we are today is we have 103 peak vehicles with about 1,250 revenue hours, which is about 76% of pre-COVID service. The cost to get to the pre-COVID service is about 15 to 20 million operating annually, and it's approximately the same for the number of vehicles we need to purchase to get our fleet up to that level, to be able to deliver that service. And there are a handful of routes that are now every 20 minutes that we wanted to get back to 15, which I already described. Route 12 was every 20, it is now every 30. And then that large group of routes that is currently every 60, to get that back to 30. And I'm happy to elaborate there, but that's basically the summary. It's about $20 million a year of operating funds and about $20 million a year of capital investment to get our fleet back to where we could deliver that service. So transit needs premium services. The big highlights here are the downtown to USF, Tampa Arterial BRT. The rest of these are placeholder BRT network recommendations, but we are reevaluating most of these with the COA and the major TDP update. So this list will be changing before that major TDP is done in 2 years. And then the express services, several of these, the bolded list there are routes that were cut during Mission Max. And the rest of these are variations of routes that we'll be refining and exploring and tweaking as part of the COA and the TDP process. And then the new local services, again, the bold ones were the ones that were eliminated during Mission Max. They correspond to the Sly Avenue corridor through the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County, the Causeway and Lumsden corridor from downtown to Brandon, and then a route that connects Ybor City basically to the Yukon Transfer Center in the Sulphur Springs area. And then, of course, as part of the COA, we're also looking at this. I won't touch on that too much now, but new on-demand transit services throughout various places. These are also placeholders that will be refined, revisited, and refined as part of the COA. So our next steps for the TDP APR are to submit to FDOT, continue coordination with the TPO and DOT, and then stay up to date on that rule guidance that comes out of FDOT. And with that, I'll take any questions and ask for a motion.
Any questions by any board member or comments? Okay. There apparently being none, and I see no one virtually. May I have a motion to approve Resolution R2025-01-01 to approve the fiscal year 2025 through 2020 or 2034 Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report to submit to the Florida Department of Transportation?
So
Move
moved.
for approval.
We have a motion by Board Member Myers, I think first, or by Board Member Hartfield. Roll call if I may.
Chair Viera,
Yes.
Director Wostel,
Yes.
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director Henderson,
Yes.
Director King,
Yes.
Director Knight,
Yes.
Director McAfee,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Myers,
Yes.
Director Niebrick.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, Board. And next we have our Board Council's report.
Point of order, Mr. Chair?
Oh, yes, sir, please.
Are we back under regular order of business?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
After the election, we went back to the agenda?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes, sir, absolutely.
Did we skip over approval of the minutes and public comment?
So we have two things. We did the approval of the minutes, public comment. I think the new rules are, if it's not an item on the agenda, it goes at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the present, yes, yes, sir, thank you. And thank you for that clarification. Ma'am.
Just to clarify, we did call for any public comment on agenda items, and no one stood up. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the item regarding, for my report, I have the item regarding the HART Chief Executive Officer's performance evaluation. And as you'll recall, at the November 4th, 2024 meeting, I outlined the process and timeline for the CEO's evaluation process, which by contract was to take place within 12 to 15 weeks after the end of each fiscal year. The CEO was to complete a self-evaluation for information and context of his performance. The board members were requested to return completed forms of evaluation for staff to prepare a summary of the board's evaluation and cumulative ratings to be discussed at the January 6th meeting. We did receive 13 of the 14 forms that were distributed to the board members, and there was a total average rating of 4.4, i.e. exceeds expectations and approaching outstanding under the criteria that is indicated, that was indicated on the forms and indicated in your agenda item as well. What the board needs to determine today is Mr. Drainfield is eligible for a merit increase that may be awarded at the same level budgeted for non-bargaining unit employees. Also, in addition, there is up to an additional 15% based on subjective criteria, based on discussion and input from the board. So at this point, I would like to turn that over to you, Mr. Chair, for board discussion.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And I saw Board Member Miller, and if anyone else wishes, and Board Member Hartfield next. Go ahead, ma'am.
I just wanted to go on the record and say that I did not evaluate him due to my late term appointment to the board, so that it was a very deliberate act. I didn't feel like I had a full year to do the evaluation. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it standard practice to discuss the evaluation with the CEO present?
That's a good question. I have no objection to that. If yourself, is there any reason as to why we shouldn't? Usually they're here, correct? Usually they're here. Yes, sir. And again, if you have a preference, make it known, but I'm personally fine with it, sir.
No, not necessarily. I think it's sometimes difficult to be truly objective with the CEO present. I will say that given that my tenure was not a full year, I didn't have a full experience with Mr. Drainsville, but I will say that I've been pleased with everything that I've seen.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Yes, sir. Director
Also
Nate.
too, have worked with him and everything, but we would have to be at this meeting, or can we got other information that's on goal, and then we can address it at another time, some other things, issues. But I would like to, so we can really talk about it, not at this meeting. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And Board or Attorney McLean, did you wish to say something, Director Wosel? Go ahead, and then.
So is there an action item that we need to take right now?
I was looking at that. Do we do an action item on that today, or?
Yes, that was, the intention was to take action today. According to the contract, we have 12 to 15 weeks post the beginning of the fiscal year to do this evaluation. So to be in compliance, I mean, we would need to do that today. That's why we had sent out the forms earlier, so that folks could take that time to consider it. And then today, the consideration, as I indicated, is what, if any, merit increase would be provided to to the CEO, the one that you could have, which would be awarded at the same level budgeted for non-bargaining unit employees, which I have to say I do not know what that percentage is. And in addition, you can award an additional up to 15% merit increase based on subjective criteria. And to me, that indicates and intends the discussion to come to that.
And that item is decided today, the merit increase?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, we should do it today to comply, correct?
Yes.
Can we get the number of percentage from anybody of what the standard
Thank you.
Union employees increase was?
Level budgeted for the non-bargaining unit employee.
Yeah. Do we know what that percentage was, if any?
Would Ms. Cook know that? I'm sorry.
Ms. Kirk?
I also wanted clarification. I think you said it differently. Did you say that up to 15% was a bonus? Because you just said merit increase, and those are two different things. So
It's-
one's an increase and then up to 15.
The merit
I think she
increase is
said
two.
bonus the first time.
No, I didn't
No?
say bonus.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I wouldn't say bonus. It's an additional 15% merit increase so an additional. I get the exact wording. Thank you, Ms. Cook.
To the chair and to the board, Loretta Kirk, the CFO, the budgeted increase is 4% for non-bargaining employees.
Thank you. Yes, sir, and then, Director Wilson, will you finish, sir?
I was going to make a motion, but go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Director Hartfield.
Mr. Chair, would it be appropriate for the CEO, if he has anything to say to address the board? As
Yes.
it relates to his evaluation and his work?
Yes, sir.
Thus far?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If appropriate.
If you wish, sir.
Thank you, and I want to say that, it's been an honor to serve at this board and a pleasure at the board. So, I had two objectives really, when I took over this with the circumstances that were at hand, was to really just stabilize this organization, and I feel like this organization is in a much better place than it's been for many years. And then really to get the reputation of HART back in that positive light. And I've been aggressively meeting with the delegation, both in Tallahassee and Washington. So I feel like we're on a momentum of positiveness. So I'm very, very happy where we are today, and I look forward to serving this board in the future. So.
Thank you, sir. Director Knight, and then I know Director Wosel has a motion. Go ahead, sir.
Back to it, the non-bargaining, is it complete, is it ratified, or has it been, can you give us a little update on that? I know you're saying this need to happen, but on the other side, so we make sure on the numbers, is it complete, or where are we at, what the status of it?
So I can.
Yes, sir.
So, currently we have tentative agreements with both the ATU and the Teamsters. The non-bargaining will be getting their 4% raises going into this first pay period of 2025. They have not had an increase in over 2 years. So with having that tentative agreements with both unions, I feel it's not fair to keep the rest of the employees waiting since they haven't been had any increases, so they will get their increase this month. 4%.
Thank you. Board Member Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a concern on our 15% merit increase. I mean, that is very large for any CEO of any company compared to what the employees. So I will not be supporting a 15% merit increase. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Anybody else? Board Member Hartfield, then Attorney McLean, go ahead.
CEO Drainville, given the current state of the economy, any pitfalls, any landmines that the board need to be aware of as we approach looking at supporting and additional compensation for you? Anything that you can think of that kind of gives you heartburn that may not sit well with your staff or the community?
Well, I believe that we're not on the fiscal cliff. We're in a very good place financially, keeping the status quo. So I don't see any pitfalls, but we do have a reserve for challenging times into the future. That's what we'll be balancing out. But no, it's completely budgeted for this.
Ma'am, Attorney McLean, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify, I know the question was raised. It's, they're both merit increases. They're not, the second is not a bonus. Let me just read that additionally, the Board of Directors may evaluate the performance of the CEO on other more subjective criteria, the discussion that the board may deem appropriate, and determine whether an additional merit increase up to 15% would be appropriate. Just to clarify.
Yeah, and if I may, to get that ball started, I know Board Member Wosel has a motion.
Yeah, I just, for those of you that were not here at the beginning of 2023, talk about assessing a CEO publicly. I didn't find it awkward at all for my seat, but it is sometimes necessary. I have always advocated that protecting this organization is about that the majority of the people that ride this do it out of absolute necessity, not want. We tasked Scott with that after we were handed it in shambles, and he has done just that. So I will move to accept his reviews and give him the standard 4% increase that the rest of the employees of the HART organization are receiving.
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? Okay, Board Member Hartfield, go ahead, sir.
Will the board have an opportunity to visit additional merit increase for the CEO in addition to the 4%?
I am unsure of that. Is there someone who can answer that question? Is if before in the next year, will we get to revisit this issue of additional compensation?
That would be, Jan McLean, Board Counsel, it would be taken up, in my opinion, on the next annual evaluation. It would, otherwise you would have like a mid-year evaluations in order to substantiate taking that kind of action. So that the answer would be no. It would be today or the next annual evaluation, unless the board, called for a midterm evaluation. Of course, you can do that.
So we can do that.
It's not contemplated in his contract. It's contemplated that it would be on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Knight, and then
Could someone clarify?
And Board Member
Clarify what the
Mechanic.
budgeted? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
What is the budgeted amount for the merit increase? That sort of lost me in the discussion here. Not what the BOSHIT is, what the budgeted amount is.
It's budgeted for 4%.
Yeah, 4%, sir.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Board Member Knight, and then Board Member King. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, also, it was discussed with Board Member Miller about bonus. Is that also out there, that it's a possibility, that is another option that we can discuss down the line, see how things go?
Yes, sir, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is something that we can revisit as a board if we make a motion for that in the next year, or alternatively 1 year from now. So we do have that power if we so wish. Yes, sir.
So with that answer, along with the 4%, I think we should move on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Board Member King, go ahead, sir.
One thing I think we might want to take into account, and thank you for letting me speak on this. Director Drainville's current total compensation package is substantially below what his contemporaries are in other capacities in different facilities like Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami-Dade. So when we're looking, we've got a good bargain here with Director Drainville. I would not want to shortchange him in the long run because he is not deriving the level of compensation he's probably due. So I think we should probably take that into account when we consider how much of a pay increase he should expect out of this.
Yes, sir. And what I would suggest is maybe perhaps we make a motion to have a report on what other folks in similar positions make so that we can consider that, as Director Hartfield said, at a later time.
So moved.
Point of order.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
There is already a proper main motion on the floor with a second.
Yes, sir. Yep. Any other comments on this motion before we move forward? Okay, roll call. And the motion was, to summarize, that we agree to accept the report on CEO Drainville with the 4% increase proposed. Go ahead.
Chair Vieira.
Yes.
Director Wolstall.
Yes.
Director Hartfield.
Yes.
Director Henderson.
Yes.
Director King.
Yes.
Director Knight.
Yes.
Director McAlphatrack.
Yes.
Director Mechanic.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Myers.
Yes.
Director Nieberg.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
And,
Chair.
oh, yes, ma'am.
I'm glad that we've just concluded this process, but the things that we want to do and make motions for the next evaluation, that should occur going into the next evaluation, so we stay consistent with our bylaws and stay consistent in what we're trying to do on this current evaluation. Okay, so we want to do a merit increase, all the bonus and all, that should be considered for 2026, 2025, 2026 fiscal year. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. And I'll say, if I may, I didn't comment on CO Drainville, that I think he's doing a great job. He's not just doing a great job for us, but he's also a very good man. He's a very decent person. He's very honest. He's very humble about what he brings here, and he's just a good person. I've seen him interact with workers and with elected officials. And the thing about him is he treats everybody with the same amount of respect. He doesn't care if you're Congresswoman Laurel Lee or Congresswoman Kathy Castor, or if you're somebody that's worked for HART for 10 minutes or for 10 years, he gives you respect. And so for me, he's just a good person, and he certainly put us back on track through just common sense. He's a good guy. So my hat's always off to him. I think he's a good person. So before the board this morning is a presentation on the comprehensive operational analysis. Mr. Drainville will introduce the presenter.
So at the July 15, 2024 HART Board regular meeting, the HART Board of Directors authorized a task order to WSP USA, Inc. to complete a comprehensive operations analysis, or COA, not to exceed in the amount of $450,588. A COA was one of the several recommendations from the HART Governance and Operational Management Analysis completed by FDOT. The presentation will be presented by Mr. Willis and provide an overview of the project as well as goals and analysis. Mr. Willis?
Morning again, Chair, Board, CEO Drainville, Justin Willits, Director of Planning and Scheduling. All right, so the comprehensive operations analysis, referred to as a COA, is basically a technical assessment of the bus operation and the transit service we deliver across Tampa and Hillsborough County. The goals are to improve service reliability, improve customer satisfaction, and to assess the emerging markets, both in the core areas and new areas. So our goals here are to identify opportunities to enhance the efficiency of the system, improve the operational effectiveness of transit system investments, and develop a framework for making data-driven decisions about existing and future transit service. So phase one, which we're just wrapping up, performance and market data analysis, is the bulk of what I'm going to go over with you all today. Phase two is going to be to develop an analysis of service change scenarios, which I'll touch on, and then phase three will be implementing the plan for those service changes. So some of the snapshots here of our performance analysis is ridership versus revenue hours. If you go back to 2019, we'll refer to as pre-COVID, you can see about 660,000 revenue hours and about 12 million trips per year. As you can see, that dipped during 2020 and has grown back to where now we've actually surpassed or are approaching really the 12 million mark again in 2023. But we still have not regained those revenue hours for issues I can touch on as we go through this. But bus ridership is slightly down, but our service hours that we put on the street are much further down, which says ridership's growing faster than we can put the service back. So there's still a lot of demand out there. And I'll show that in a couple of different ways. We think ridership has the potential to increase if service levels return to 2019 levels and probably beyond. So our operating efficiency, this is one of the good stories in the HART system right now, is that the passenger trip costs are down 22%, or I'm sorry, the trip costs are up 22% from 2019, but down from the last 2 years. So we're becoming more efficient and operating at a cheaper cost per hour, but we still just need to get those service levels up. Again, ridership versus revenue hours, we are just slightly trailing when you look at the total unlinked passenger trips versus the revenue hours. But costs are up 65%, as we all know. Tampa Bay is arguably one of the most, has been most impacted by inflation nationally, and we feel that here. While the housing market is the only way we get most of our revenue, it's also kind of looking backwards as far as our costs. So it's hard for us to catch back up to those prior service levels, and that's as much of an economist as I'll ever pretend to be. So another way to look at operating efficiency is on our demand response, right? We need to look at both paratransit, fixed route bus, flex service, and the streetcar. But for paratransit, the productivity is up 7%, which you see on the blue line, from 1.63 pre-COVID to 1.75. But our in-house productivity is down slightly. Our contracted operation is cost-effective versus in-house operation, but that is growing exponentially right now. Here's a good snapshot of our route level productivity, and this is something I'm really proud of as a service planner at HART. In many ways, that phrase works. But you can see the system average of 23.3. I often like to compare this to our peers, which I think I have on another slide, but we really outpace a lot of the peers we compare ourselves to. For every hour of service we have on the street, we're carrying 23 passengers. So on our best routes, routes 6, 12, 1, and 34, those are up at 30 or above. And then down on some of our less productive routes, some of the long express routes to McDill and the South County route, you can see that drops near 10 and 12. So here's the productivity map. Green is good and red is bad. So those 25 to 30 passenger per hour routes are those primary north-south routes connecting the university area to downtown. You can see those in green on the corridors of Florida, Nebraska, 22nd Street, 56th Street. And then you get into the yellow and orange. A lot of those correspond to 30 and 60-minute routes. And then the red is primary, those longer express routes where we kind of expect to have lower numbers. So one of the things we look at through this project is a dynamic threshold analysis or a density threshold analysis. And this is one of the positive things about our service, right? 82% of the areas with high or very high DTA are within a quarter mile of the HART system. 95% of the areas with a high DTA are within 3/4 of a mile, and that's a 2020 density and dwelling units per acre and employees per acre map you're looking at there. So when we look out to 2050, because that's what we do, that's part of the TDP, we want to forecast growth. Where is it happening? We're still seeing that the service is in the right place. We just need more of it to satisfy the demand that we have today and that we definitely will have in the future. And even some of those places in South County, while they are rapidly growing, those are more of park and ride exploration markets, some other services to get people to express service, but fundamentally local bus service is not necessarily the best answer for them. More express type services. There's not a lot of employment on the corridors, right? They're largely residential. They're largely setback cul-de-sac type developments. So they're just growing in a different way. The city is growing with density that's supportive of bus service, local bus service, and some of those fast growing areas of the county, while they're growing rapidly, it's not super dense. So we have to build different service types to serve those communities. I think someone's trying to chime in?
I don't think so.
No, okay, it was just a cough maybe. All right. So one of the things we're really trying to work on right now is our on-time performance. It is below the target. It is at 66%. Our target is 77%. One of the big benefits of the HART CAT AVL project is updating our technology and our systems to make it easier for us to improve that because of how often our technology can ping. It is a over 15-year-old system, and it's not as fast as we would like. It communicates on our old radio network, which takes a long time. It's not pinging enough. That's one of the issues. We're also seeing that post-COVID, the Tuesday through Thursday traffic, as you all can probably vouch for, is worse than Monday and Friday. So we're contemplating ways to address that with how we schedule our service. We might schedule it differently Tuesday to Thursday than we do on Monday and Friday, and especially on the weekends. So that's something that the COA is really going to help us analyze and improve on. Here is just a representation of, by hour of the day, where we're struggling most with on-time performance. And you can see the morning rush hour, we get a dip there. The green is the late arrivals on this graph. And then in the afternoon, starting right around when school gets out, all the way into just after the 6 o'clock hour, we're struggling, and that's really the main focus of our group and the consultant for part of the COA here. So here's some of the not so great snapshots here. So the 21 routes, or 62% of route service area, have 60-minute headways. So pre-COVID, it was about 66% had 30 minutes or better. And that's our target. That's what we want to get back to, and that's what we're gonna try to do. It's very, very difficult given our current funding scenario. The major corridors with less frequent service that are on our radar for improvements are Dale Mabry, Fletcher, US 41, Bruceby Downs, and the Brandon area. So the key findings thus far in the COA, fixed route ridership and service efficiency is up. Labor costs, ridership, and running times, largely caused by traffic, are all increasing. Funding is needed to maintain those schedules and frequencies. And just as a little anecdote here, what we're really seeing in this service area is for many decades, we've seen most of the growth occurring in suburban and the rural areas. But the last decade or so, I would argue, you've seen a lot of infill urban development. So we're adding a lot of density, and property values are going up, which is good for us, but it's not increasing our funding at a level where we can add service to make the service more attractive. So you're seeing, and I think as people who drive a lot, and I'm one of them, right? We see people that are moving to this area are not seeing the same level of transit service they maybe had in the major markets that they came from. So they're adding car trips to the network faster than they're adding transit trips. So that's really the struggle here, is we need better transit service so everybody that comes here doesn't assume they need a car for every person in their household. And there are a lot of choice riders on our system. I know Commissioner Woolstill, you say that a lot, but there's a lot of people on the bus this morning, that have chosen to leave their cars at home because we have good service on a few key corridors. So I'm not trying to, say that all these, we call it chasing unicorns, people that are going to leave their cars at home. But when you put the good service there, they may choose it a couple times a week, or the people moving here may decide that they don't need 3 or 4 vehicles in their household. So there's a balance here, and I think that that's what's going to play out over the next 5 or 10 years, is that all this density we're adding to the core, it's slowing down travel times from people all over the region because all those trips are being taken by automobile. So sorry, I went a little off script there. But, going down the list here, less productive routes could be eliminated and resources allocated to higher performing routes, but it's going to be at the expense of geographic coverage. And I want to make sure that makes sense, right? One of the things that was done over the last 5 and 7 years is we call it trimming the fat in a lot of ways. Really unproductive routes, you can decide to leave them in place for a variety of reasons, or you can decide to reallocate those resources to the most productive parts of the system. And that's going to be the trade-off we really arrive at later in this project. So there will be opportunities to eliminate them, but it's going to be very hard to find. And I'll go back to those passengers per revenue hour, because most of these routes are doing very, very well at limited frequency. So there's probably not a lot of opportunity out there to tweak and trim, but we are going to be exploring that, and we'll be bringing those recommendations to you. Another thing we need to touch on is our paratransit coverage area. It was, the federal guideline is 3/4 of a mile for fixed route service. That was expanded several years ago, and that has partially contributed to the serious increase in paratransit ridership growth, and we have to address that. And that will be part of the whole puzzle we put together as part of this project. So our next steps are look for efficiency improvements by identifying unproductive segments, and examine paratransit coverage area for resource allocation, develop service change scenarios and microtransit concepts to maximize reliability. And then finally, the microtransit piece of this, or on-demand service, It's technology-enabled service. The paratransit CAT AVL will help us get the technology to deliver that type of service more efficiently. But it's getting multi-passenger vehicles to provide that on-demand service in designated limited service areas, generally feeding into better express service to attract ridership. But something you've got to be aware of from the beginning of this is that when we're carrying 23 passengers per hour on a bus, to eliminate that and put a microtransit service out there that generally only average about 4 trips per hour, the cost for delivering a real quality on-demand service becomes more than the bus it replaced. So we've got to be very careful where we recommend that and where we suggest it, because it can quickly become something that is very, very attractive, but without a fleet of 6 to 8 vehicles, you can't provide the level of service that people would expect to get out of an on-demand microtransit service. So I just want to be very clear on that as we move forward in this project. So here are a couple of the scenarios we're looking at. Customer satisfaction and ridership growth areas. We want to focus customer satisfaction on on-time performance and invest in maintaining the existing frequency that we have and possibly dialing that up a little bit. A couple of options under there would be route elimination and reallocation to implement microtransit and potentially to replace paratransit. Option 2 would be new funding for capital operating and maintenance for additional service. And then on the ridership growth areas, focus ridership, population, and employment. Focus the service where you have ridership, population, and employment densification with the objective of investing in consistency of frequencies on those major corridors where right now we're lacking a little bit of frequency. Options under there, route elimination and reallocation to implement microtransit to replace paratransit, and of course, new funding for operations and maintenance for additional service. So very similar, but the recommendations under those scenarios will impact populations very differently. And then here are some of the zones we're looking at for microtransit. There will be more, but those are really the core areas where we think we have a lot of potential growth. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions or comments from board members? Yes, sir, Director Hartfield.
Thank you, Chair. CEO Drainville and Justin, where do we see competitive markets going? Microtransit, or what's the concept out there that's new, innovative, and that seems to be working?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of our peers that are operating microtransit that have the resources to do so. Right here with us, it's probably going to be more of a question of financial resources. But the on-demand service is popular. It can replace fixed route in some instances, but the core nature of our business is that reliable corridor-based frequency service is always gonna work very well. I'm not gonna say the best because it's not true in every instance, but in our new growth areas, I think growing an on-demand service is probably the right way to go. But you still want to connect that to frequent, probably express bus service, right? But in our core areas, our main needs are really with the more frequent local bus service.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. And for reference from my colleagues, the comments that I consistently make about choice ridership that Director Willits decided to comment on comes from my aide's father that retired as a 30-year HART bus driver. And his comments over those 3 decades of personal interactions were people celebrating the moments that they were able to finally transition to the independence of a vehicle, not from a data point in a spreadsheet. And that's why I make those comments. On the fixed route, when you say cost per trip $8, average trips per hour 23, how many people are you assuming is sitting on the bus out of that maximum capacity of 30 to 50? Tell me how you got to that number.
So we calculated on the number of trips for every hour of service we have on the street. So we have what's called an average load, which is the average number of people on a bus at any given time. Then we have an average max load, and we calculate those by route. So for, say, if 23 people got on the bus any given hour, at any time there's probably, I would say the average load was probably 15 but it varies by route and it varies on each corridor, so that is a number I can get you, though.
Yeah, I'd like to see that number, because there's a huge problem with working with averages, especially in such a vast geographic area. I'd like you to pull up slide 10 real quick. Commissioner Miller, this might be of interest to you. It's something I've advocated for a number of times. We have two very different service areas in this county. County's too big. It needs to be cut in half or into thirds, more than likely, for it to be functional. But you'll see these routes in red that are going towards Fishhawk and then down to Sun City Center. I have advocated a number of times. I think when the planners, they have a matrix, and if the idea doesn't hit the bullet points in the matrix, then the idea is bad, and they'll resist it. But I believe that there's almost no one that's ever going to be taking a bus from Waimama to downtown Tampa. That's just likely not a reality. Maybe 1 out of 1,000 people, maybe that would happen. What I would like to see, if we're going to continue on our current charter setup of being a countywide, taxing those people but offering them nothing, is that I believe that we should close the route to Fishhawk that goes to McDill. It has abysmal ridership. It's extremely expensive, likely, for us to operate. It was done over a decade ago. Mostly, it was, I believe, some commissioned officers, some military grift got involved. Then the route was created. Well, those people, like we do in the military, transferred. And now it's more of like, well, nobody wants to touch it. It's like a hot potato because it has to do with the military. What I believe is that we should transition from funding that bad route, and then there's a long bus route that was created that kind of goes to Sun City Center that is empty most hours of the day. It goes to Brandon Mall. It goes up and down. It's like 3 or 4 buses, and it's largely empty most of the day. I would like for those two routes, resources to be closed down and us do some type of route that goes from actual Waimama, not the outskirts like Valencia Lakes. I'm talking about into Waimama, and then brings them over to the grocery stores and hospitals that are over in Ruskin. There's no need for them to come to Tampa General anymore. There's tons of hospitals down there. And I believe that you could get some more effective, if it is microtransit. I don't know that you need big bus routes there yet, but do some type of route from Waimama circulating to Ruskin that gets them to the meaningful daily essentials that they need with reliable transportation, and cut out this whole us trying to connect Tampa to Waimama. It's not going to happen for 2 decades probably. So anyways, those are the points that I wanted to make about this. I really think that we should try and look at those two routes that do have just really poor ridership. I think that they were on one of these sheets somewhere, maybe slide 9. But I think that those routes need to be heavily re-examined, and us try and look at something from the Waimama to Ruskin area, because those are where the people that need it the most. So, thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Knight, go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation. Can elaborate a little on that Waimama, that area? Not only did I work out that way over 32 years and everything, but that area have really changed in a lot of people. Now, it may need some more promoting and different things like that, but some means of getting from out Waimama, Palm, Apollo Beach, Ruskin area, I think it's growing. And try to go out there in a car and try to get back and have an opportunity, because a lot of things that are happening in the inner city, you got a lot of people going out that way and don't have the best means of transportation. So I hear those things, but I think you need to put more effort on doing more communication and looking at that way before, consider not having that transportation out that way.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Director King, and then we have 2 more presentations after this, by the way. So go ahead, sir.
Very quickly, thank you. The Fishhawk route, is that also the same route that services Riverview?
It's 2 separate LXs, I believe.
Okay. So basically, that would be the CENTCOM ghetto, right? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Could you look at how those could be phased out and bring us back a report, maybe at the March meeting?
Those routes specifically?
Yes.
That's part of the COA. That's part of what we will bring you, is some scenarios about phasing those out and how we would reallocate those resources.
When would you bring it back?
I think we're probably 4 to 6 months from that point.
Oh, no, 90 days or less. 90 days or less.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
In addition to what Commissioner Wastel and Myers added, I want to look at it from hopefully having it as a glass that's half full. So in addition to phasing out, can we look at ways to come up with innovative approaches to expand services?
That was the ask.
Sure. Yeah, that's the nature of this project. So what we will do is we'll bring you some scenarios where we could phase out a few of those routes and allocate those resources to where they're needed most right now. So that could be a short-term deliverable, but we still are following a project timeline, so we could potentially expedite a few of those recommendations. So if that's all right, I think that's how we'll move forward.
I need to make a motion for the 90 days.
Sure.
I move that report come back to us in 90 days.
We have a motion
90
by
days.
Board Member Myers. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Board Member Hartfield. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Look, I want the answer because I've been asking for it for over a year, but I understand that these have timelines, you have probably outside resources, you have data collection that you're doing. I mean, is it feasible for you to get, I don't want to get a hodgepodge answer in 90 days. If you can tell me that I can get a more transparent and clear direction on what would be possible to facilitate better transportation out there if it's 120 days.
Right, so we do 4 markups a year. We just initiated a service change. So the next service change is going to be at the end of March. This will not be implemented at the end of March, so it would be the following. So
120 days and 90 days, we would still be implementing it at the same markup timeframe.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll bring back a timeline for how we can implement that. We have to do all of this work many months in advance to schedule fixed route bus service. So we don't turn things around like that. So we will do our best to get you an actionable recommendation to implement at the soonest opportunity.
And the COAs are a requirement for the union agreements, correct? So it's not like we can jump ahead or change them up?
So, no, if I may, we minimum 3,
excuse
but
me,
we
the
can do as
markup.
many. It's a markup.
The
yeah.
markup, yes.
So, just to put it in the context, though, so the directive is to look at the best scenarios. You know, when we're looking at the LXs and the 31, definitely we want to look at different, because, you know, we talk about micro-transit and on-demand, but it's no different. 30 years ago, we called it dial-a-ride. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Sure.
We're definitely going to look at, you know, the unincorporated areas, does it make sense? Because the board's going to have to make decisions. We need to do some public outreach, some public hearings if we're going to get rid of routes. And then the decisions will come back to the board, you know, because in the past, it's been a discussion whether the Route 31 should be there, is it efficient, what justifies the route? So there's a lot involved there. So we'll bring all that information back before we implement any kind of change in the service.
No, I wasn't asking to implement. I asked for the report to come back in 90 days to see what is going to be on the table to be offered to the riders, or what we would eliminate. That's what I'm asking.
And we could have a report.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Board Member Myers, seconded by Board Member Hartfield. Unless if there's any further comments on it, roll call, please.
Chair Viera?
Yes.
Director Woolstel? Director Hartfield?
Yes.
Director Henderson?
Yes.
Director Knight? Director King?
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick?
Yes.
Director Mechanic?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Niebuhr?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much. And unless there's any further questions or comments, let's move forward to basic transit infrastructure update. CO Drainville will introduce the presenter.
Thank you, Chair. So there's been a lot of interest in the Bus Transit Infrastructure, or BTI program, which manages all bus stop shelters and amenities. This morning, we have the presentation on the update on the BTI program. Mr. Dan Rodriguez from the PMO office is here to present.
Good morning, Chair Vieira, board members, Mr. Drainville, Dan Rodriguez, project manager with the HART PMO. I'm here this morning to provide an update to the overview of the BTI program regarding bus stops and shelters. As a reminder from the last update, and for the new members of the board here are the program goals. Improving stop accessibility is at the top of the list, since HART has an obligation to meet federal ADA, bless you, ADA laws. All stops need to be made accessible. Replacing the current shelter inventory, HART has over 600 shelters in its inventory, and nearly all of them have met their useful life or in some state of disrepair. Meeting the needs of the community by providing new stops, additional lighting, reviewing shelter requests, enhancing the bus stop waiting experience. And finally, we very soon will be adding new technologies to bus stops such as real-time display boards, map screens, and included some upgrades in security such as bus stop lighting, both on the pole and on the shelter, as well as one-touch response audible messaging. Let's remind everyone how shelters get placed in the service area. The leading criteria is ridership. When looking to place shelters, we evaluate the number of boardings. HART standard practice is to place shelters with 20 or more daily boardings a day. Community needs is important, especially if there are a number of boardings that have a higher number of ADA boardings, such as hospitals, medical offices, stops that are located with folks with accessibility challenges, such as the Lighthouse of the Blind, McDonald Training Center, and the Self-Reliance, just to name a few. Site readiness is also very important. A few examples are, does the site have available right-of-way? Are there drainage issues? Available sidewalks, connectivity to where patrons need to go. State of good repair are such things as, is there a landing pad already in place? Is it elevated to accommodate the bus's ADA ramp? Are there surrounding amenities in need of repair or replacement? And finally, the most important, can we afford to do this improvement now? Are we getting the most for our limited funds? This slide shows the number of stops in our system, how many shelters we have, and where they are. Just a reminder, the number of stops in this chart was acquired through a bus stop study or inventory conducted back in 2022. As of our last stop inventory, we accounted for 2256 bus stops, of which there were 608 shelters. On this chart, the breakdown of the totals is shown per district, county district. The backlog of the number of stops that require some type of improvement is currently at 346. Since our last update in May, there have been 39 bus stops that have been improved by HART or by developers on behalf of HART. Bus stops with shelters that have passed their useful life is currently at 534. We have now placed 74 new shelters, of 34 of which since our last update in May. The next two lines are the investments made over the last 5 years. Since our last meeting, our total investment has increased by $677,000. As the date of this presentation was submitted, highlighted in the last lines are the shelters in inventory. Community Investment Grant. It's a $5 million grant funding source acquired by help of Kathy Castor. This grant was broken up into 3 categories. The design and construction will fund approximately 60 bus stops from the 346 needing improvements, totaling about $3 million. Continuing the shelter program by allowing us to replace 40 shelters, both replacing our old inventory and at newly constructed shelter locations. This would run about $1 million. The remaining $1 million will go to kick off technology at transit centers, bus stops, and shelters. These technologies will include real-time display, additional lighting and ADA accessibility, and finally some push-button annunciators at the bus stops with just a pole sign and those with shelters. As we saw on the previous slide, the breakdown of stops and the number of ADA improvements broken down by county district and its total. Here's an updated view of how we plan to use the CIG funds among the county districts. Please keep in mind that these are approximations from a list of planned stops. Each stop is reevaluated for cost in today's dollars, for current ridership, constructability, and community need. Shown are approximate help stop improvements per county, district, both in construction and in the placement of new shelters. Please excuse the underdevelopment On the technology line, we are still diligently working to identify the stops that have new technology. Just to give you an idea, we are planning on placing screens and real-time information at transit and transfer centers, as well as e-paper screens at time point bus stops in lieu of the paper maps and schedules that we have today. We will soon be bringing in solicitation to the board to solicit this technology in the coming months for your approval. As we see on the percentage of funding allocated, the percentages fall in line with the percentages of stops in the district. District 1 and 3 cover most of our core of our service, which is why together they utilize approximately 82% of the funding. On this screen, we show the total funding of the BTI program. In purple is the total funding, total spent, and remaining balance over all funding sources. In the blue, the remaining funding is allocated in various buckets for design, construction, shelter purchases, and technology and amenities. As shown in orange, the actual funding source. Please note that some of these funding funds are in various stages of approval. Those that are actually actual award amounts, some of these funds are still required to have additional applications to actually be able to draw down on these funds. In September, we met with some board members as well as the City of Tampa and the TPO to ride the routes such as 1, 6, and 36 to discuss and see firsthand upcoming projects and site limitations. Here are a couple of sites discussed on a ride-along on Route 6 in District 3. The first is 21st at 32nd Street. There's a site constrained by various factors. We are now in the process of attaining an easement from the City of Tampa Parks Department to move forward with a shelter at this location. Another one is close to our operations center. It's at 21st at 40th Street. The stop was not ADA compliant due to the landing pad that was at grade. The landing pad was elevated with a curb and a sidewalk. A new shelter was placed, adding it to the total in District 3. Here are some locations. We have scheduled improvements as well as shelter placement throughout the service area. Some of them are Memorial Highway at George Road. We have an upcoming one also requiring an easement at Hillsborough at 43rd Street. Here's a list of additional sites that we're working on: 22nd at Bush, Main at Willow, Main at Rome, and Davis Road corridor. We have some ADA stop improvements. Outside of the BTI program, HART service planning staff, led by Justin Willits, has moved some initiatives forward that have significant impact to our patrons on Florida Avenue. HART planning staff have been coordinating for many years with FDOT and their work on the BRT corridor via the FDOT's Heights Mobility Study. FDOT is working to prepare the corridor for premium BRT service, and as part of that coordination, HART is working to incorporate significant capital improvements to over a dozen bus stops on the corridor, where both HART's highest ridership routes 1 and 6 operate. Most details will be forthcoming as plans are redefined and finalized. Also, I'd like to say that HART has had coordination on the Route 1 fare-free frequent pilot for 2025, slated to go live today. Outreach materials and signage on bus stops and on board have been developed with various media efforts to raise awareness on this pilot. I'd like to thank Justin and his staff for their hard work to make that happen. That concludes my update and overview at this time. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Any questions or comments? None? Oh, yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just have one question. Sorry, I missed the majority of your report. I know we're scheduled to have a shelter dedication.
Yes, ma'am.
What date is that?
I
And the reason
believe
I'm
it's-
asking because the public is here and they might want to attend that as well.
I believe it's slated for the 9th. Is it still for the 9th? It's still working on the date? I think it's still in flux yet.
Okay.
As soon as I know. Okay, so hopefully we'll have an
Thank
answer
you.
today.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
I was just going to say that was excellent. Sounds like you're getting us out of the 1990s and
Trying.
So I appreciate the update. I think that these technology improvements are probably undervalued because they're intangible.
Long time coming.
Yeah, I'm really excited for them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
One other comment. I do appreciate staff listening to me on my plea for District 3 to make sure that we get some shelters and benches at which the riders would be covered, particularly this coming summer, that they will not be standing out in the hot sun.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you so much, staff.
Thank you.
And thank you for that, and again, and great presentation, and I know Board Member Myers has worked a lot on that issue, and salute, I mean, for her and for all of us, it's about making sure that people get respect while they're out there, et cetera. I do want to, not going to for purposes of time, but I do want to follow up with Mr. Willits. I know that I had motioned on CRA to have the CRA help out with these bus stops, and I can discuss that with you afterwards. I just want to see where that's going, because don't know if I need to bring it up again. But thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, our last presentation is the update on the THS cost allocation plan, and CEO Drainville will introduce the presenters.
Thank you, Chair. So one of the observations or findings from the FDOT governance and operational management analysis is that how it could benefit from the development of a cost allocation plan. For the first phase, and at my request, HART completed a cost allocation analysis for the TICO line streetcar consistent with the amended operators agreement between TH Incorporated and HART, and this included all administrative or indirect costs incurred by HART as the operator of the streetcar. This same presentation was presented at the November 2024 THS board meeting. Mr. Justin Willits, Director of Planning and Scheduling, will present.
I also, good morning again. I have also Donnie Murray with me to talk about our outreach on this item as well. So I'll get right into it. So after that intro, part of what we did was an internal cost allocation after the direction of the CEO with the Director of Budgets and Grants. And as budgeted, the overhead expenses and administrative costs for the streetcar were totaled to be $1.475 million. This comes as the same year as the FDOT grant expired that has been partially subsidizing the streetcar since 2018. That was originally a 3-year grant, and then it was extended twice. So we have all known, we being HART and the City of Tampa, the CRAs, the Downtown Partnership, we have all known for many years that that matching grant would expire, and that came, unfortunately, at the same time as our cost allocation showed that the administrative costs that needed to be applied to the streetcar were the total shown there. The city did request that we have an independent consultant do a review of that as well. So that was done, and then we have lowered that to about 1.385. So we were only off by about $90,000 from what we did internally. I felt very good about that, and I'm glad it came in a little bit under for the sake of the financial solvency of every agency involved. So moving forward, that independent review, as I just said, totaled $1.384 million, which the city asked for, and we provided to them as well. And we've not received substantive feedback on that item since we delivered that, to my knowledge. So one thing we wanted to show here was how do we compare to our peers, because that's what we do in transit. We measure against each other, and that's how we know whether we're doing pretty good, not great, or about average. If you look at FY 2017, before the service was ramped up, before we added the frequency, made it fare-free, our operating costs were about $125 per hour, compared to the average in that first column up top is anywhere from 155 in New Orleans up to 244 in Cincinnati. So you carry that over to 2022, and those costs remained flat for HART. So that was part of why this cost allocation was probably one of the recommendations of DOT, right? They said that this looks like something you should look at, so we went down that path. So for the FY 2025 budget, after that cost allocation was included in the budget, that revised cost per revenue hour put us at $233, which is right on par with our peers over the last 6 years, as shown in this table. And so you can see on the bottom chart, on the far left is HART in 2022. and this is a not so beautiful graph to demonstrate the orange and blue lines, no college bias there, kidding, is between 100 and 150, while the rest of our peers are high above that. So here we are again. This is just our administrative costs as a total expenses of the streetcar operation was only at 6.5% in FY22, far below our peers. Now, when we updated that data with what we have budgeted and what was approved by THS for 2025, we're at 23.6%. So that means we had our cost allocation done internally and independently, and then we took that and we wanted to basically smell test it against our peers, and this is where we've landed, and this is slightly above where Cincinnati was and Portland in 2022, and just below New Orleans, Kansas City, and really very comfortably within the range of the national average. So we feel very strong that this is a very, very good fiscally responsible exercise we've completed, and that we are on the right path to accounting for the expenses associated with the streetcar. That puts us where we are today. The options we have in front of us are for the city of Tampa to provide the full funds to cover the budget shortfall, and option two, that HART re-implements a fare and reduces service that would partially cover the budget shortfall. I'll talk about the scenarios in a little bit later, and I'm going to apologize to Donnie for stealing a little bit of his thunder on his slides, but I want to pass it over to him to talk about the outreach we've done on this item to date that is necessary for taking any action on this item, and I'll hand it over now.
Perfect. My name is Donnie Murray. I'm the manager of community and business engagement. So just to summarize kind of the background and historical reference on how we've gotten here. So the streetcar has been free since October of 2018, thanks to that initial 3-year grant from FDOT that removed the previous $2.50 one-way fare and the $5 all-day fare, plus it increased frequency and expanded service hours. After that initial grant ended, we were able to continue those free fares and those service improvements year by year through additional short-term funding from a combination of FDOT, City of Tampa, and Downtown Partnership. However, all those funding sources have now expired as of the end of FY 2024. Also around that same time, as Justin mentioned, a Florida law directed FDOT to conduct a review of HART's organizational structure and operations. One of the recommendations that came out of that analysis was for us to do that cost allocation to confirm that operations costs were being tracked properly. And it did show that HART has been underestimating the cost of operations for the streetcar. The previous cost was $180,000, but that new accurate cost is around $1.384 million, so a large difference. So the THS board approved a budget that addressed that discrepancy by increasing the amount of our general administrative costs for FY 2025 and included that unresolved gap in funding for maintaining the free fares and increased service. As Justin mentioned, one of the potential options to address this budget shortfall is to add a fare back to the streetcar. And as required by federal law and our HART policy, we proactively went through the process in the fall to solicit public input and to do an equity analysis so that we were in compliance and doing our due diligence. So our public input effort for the proposed reimplementation of a fare on the streetcar began on Wednesday, October 30th, with the announcement of a press release and the unique webpage going live. Our main source for receiving public feedback was a short survey that we created online through our customer service platform called SeeClickFix. We also accepted feedback through phone calls, email, and mail to ensure that those with limited online access could still participate. HART staff was also at various streetcar stations to answer questions between Friday, November 1st and Thursday, November 7th, which led up to an in-person public hearing on Thursday, November 7th. We also promoted this opportunity on our HART and streetcar websites, on social media, emails, posters at every streetcar station, newspaper advertisements, and it got a good amount of media coverage. And then flyers were also provided in English and Spanish. We received a huge, overwhelming response of over 500 comments in just that 1 week span of receiving public input. Overall, the community sentiment is that they are against adding a fare back to the streetcar for a number of reasons. The main feedback was that if there was a fare, they would choose not to ride, and they believe it would keep others from riding as well. Of course, money is one reason, that it would be an additional financial impact on their personal wallets, especially at a time when inflation is really largely on people's minds. But they also said a fare just wasn't currently justified because the streetcar is such a short distance of less than 3 miles, when they could simply just drive or not visit at all. Which leads to other people's concerns about the impact that imposing a fare would take away a large number of choice riders, which would reduce the economic dollars that are contributed into the urban core and to our local businesses, because those people would choose to spend their discretionary money elsewhere or simply not come into downtown at all. They're also very concerned about a large, excuse me, I lost my track. They were also very concerned about a large increase in traffic and congestion onto our roads. For example, Water Street didn't exist prior to us having free fares. So if you include the addition of all those apartments and condos, more events happening at Amalie Arena, and everything happening at Sparkman Wharf, what kind of traffic might be added back onto the roads had they choosing not to ride the streetcar? And because many urban core riders are interested in future development, they were concerned about the potential implications that a large reduction of ridership would have on the future extension project. People even brought up the operations aspect, that they thought that adding a fare back would also slow down trips with the boarding and having to pay the fare. And they also gave good ideas such as having monthly passes or potentially offering free or discounted passes for local residents who contribute to that special assessment district. In our survey, we asked what they thought was a reasonable one-way fare if we did add a fare back, just to kind of gauge overall sentiment and help us understand anecdotally how a fare might affect demand. And a majority responded that $1 was a reasonable one-way fare, and anything higher just wouldn't be worth it for that short distance. The survey also asked where people lived or where they were coming from, which showed that out of these 500 responses, we got a really good diversity that represent the community as a whole. It wasn't just tourists who want these free rides, but primarily it was our urban core residents and workers, people who live and work downtown in Channel District and Ybor, who support the streetcar being free. And even across Tampa and the entire Bay Area, from South Tampa to Brandon to people visiting from St. Pete and Pasco, we are seeing them say the same response and the same reasons for the benefits of a streetcar and how valuable that this version of public transit can be for them. Lastly, we also asked in this survey how they use the streetcar either that day, of answering the survey, or just in general. And once again, we got a really great diversity of the different types of riders. So it gives us a good representation to ensure that our public input in this process didn't leave out any group or didn't lean too heavily on one group that was just being the loudest voice. So for context, before free rides existed around 2017, our annual ridership was only 280,000 riders per year, which generally came from tourists, convention attendees, and locals who were coming just on the weekends. Whereas from FY 2024, we had 1.3 million rides. So that's 1 million more trips that have been able to happen because the streetcar has been free, using it for all sorts of purposes throughout the day, as shown in this graph, and every single day as well, which is showing us that we're getting the exact return on investment from that initial grant that we were hoping for in the first place. So as you can see, people are choosing to ride the streetcar for a number of reasons. They're trying to ride it to reduce traffic, have more options for places to park, and to avoid being a dangerous driver on the road, let's say if they're going out for the night. The streetcar has also been a huge economic catalyst for economic development, as people are spending money coming to events, going to attractions like the aquarium, going to events at Amalie Arena, and eating out for lunch and dinner at local restaurants. And the streetcar has been a vital connection for everyday use. People are using it to go get groceries at Publix. They're going to the gym. We have students that are now attending at USF. And more people are living in the urban core and commuting to and from work. So thank you again for taking the time to listen to the public input, and I'll return it back to Justin.
Thank you, Donnie. So under the options we presented, the first, as a reminder, was just the City of Tampa funding the streetcar as budgeted and approved by THS. Option 2, the service planning team needed to analyze these scenarios. The staff internally and the consultant support that helped us do the elasticity analysis is here because it gets pretty nitty-gritty, and I'm going to need some help there if we go down that route. But the table you see here is basically says the following. In scenario A, if you were to implement $1 fare at the same level of service, there would still be a budget shortfall of $913,000. Scenario B, to implement a $2 fare at the same level of service, would require an additional $630,000. Scenario D, if we implemented a $250 fare, which was the old fare, and reduced the level of service, we would still have a shortfall of about $350,000. And then scenario D, implementing a $250 fare at the same level of service would still require an additional $550,000. So that just tells you, if we raised, for instance, hypothetically, if we raised the fare to $5, the ridership would drop enough to make the gap bigger, right? That's how the elasticity analysis works. We looked at some peer examples. For example, what happened to Sunrunner when they went from no fare to a fare. We looked at some other elasticity models and best practices. We did one internally and then had a consultant do one independent. We didn't tell them what we came up with, and we actually landed in the same place. So again, it was very reassuring that we were on the right track. So this is where we stand today, and I think I'll pass it back to the CEO for any next steps, or just open it up for questions or discussion.
So, yeah, so thank you, Mr. Willis. So I really wanted to bring this to the board's attention just to, to put it into context. This kind of started not only with the cost allocation, but Commissioner Wassel had asked me back in August of 2023, what did it cost HART to run the streetcar? And I didn't know at the time, so doing this cost allocation, I really wanted to find out what does it actually cost HART. So this is how that came about. And now, so we've been assuming, I guess what I was told back when about 20 years ago when we started this, we were collecting the time amount that HART actually spent on it, and as the years went by, we stopped doing that. So now we put a mechanism in place to categorize all that time that we actually put on there. So I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. Right now, I believe Chair Vieira and myself are going to have a scheduled meeting with the mayor. I've had numerous talks with the mayor, and she's confident we're going to find the funds. But I just wanted to bring this information back to the board to know where we stand. There's been a lot of publicity on it, so.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Board Member Wosel, and then anybody else who wishes to speak, and then Board Member King.
Thank you for going through this exercise and finding me this data. So basically what you're telling me is that over the past 6 years, for anyone who doesn't know, the origination of this streetcar is that it would in no way financially impact HART. That was the agreement. Right now, it sounds like we're $6 million in the hole, which is an entirely different conversation that probably needs to be had. I'm glad I didn't offer you a 10% finder's fee because, whew, I guess since you already, and thank you, Mr. Willits, for preemptively saying that everybody involved. At the very beginning, you made very clear that everyone involved absolutely knew of these deadlines and that these expirations of funding sources, because I believe some people at the beginning acted like it was a surprise when there's no way this could be a surprise. It was made very clear. I guess since your final statement, Mr. Drainsville, was that Chair Vieira, whom I trust emphatically, is going to have a conversation first, I will reserve further comment until he comes back with his report about, I'm assuming, Mr. Vieira, you're going to bring these options to the mayor and going to get their input?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, so I will close. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll respond substantively after I know Director, I think, King, were you next, sir? Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Willits, is there any opportunity to derive revenue from advertising through the various business entities in Ybor City, Channelside, the Tourism Development Board, or just private revenue sources, TICO, that would offset these expenses?
Yes, and we do that with a lot of the station and vehicle branding now. Our marketing folks do a lot of those exercises. The tourism board is kind of separate. I think that would be on the board to probably make some maneuvers on that in that regard. But we explore all of those revenue sources, and one of the things about the marketing revenue, and if Frank is here, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that just reduces the amount at which we bill the city for the streetcar. So it's not like an additional funding source, but it's just the way that the tri-party agreement's set up. I don't want to get into the legalese here, but basically like the stations that have private sponsors and the vehicles, all of that is incorporated into the THS budget already. There are more opportunities, but the businesses in Ybor City, for example, already pay into the streetcar special assessment. And their CRAs, they also fund the CRAs, which have historically funded the streetcar. If I may, the special assessment that the streetcar had implemented in 2000 originally exempted homesteaded properties, which was de minimis in 2000. But as Channelside has grown, it's now to the point where 42% of the parcels along the streetcar assessment, including the port, if I may, are exempt from paying that assessment. So that's part of the action the city probably needs to take to make this financially sound. But that has not happened, and now, that's just part of the whole picture here.
So what you're telling me is there's not a lot of opportunity for additional revenue collection from private sources?
Yes, I should have said it that simply.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would say
Pierre,
that
I would
just,
like to comment.
Oh, yes, ma'am. So, and I first saw Board Member McElfetrick, and then Board Member Henderson and CEO Drainville. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to comment that President Michael English, the chair of the THS board, is actively trying to work on a capital campaign to find revenues for this.
Go ahead, sir, and then Board Member Henderson.
Thank you for the presentation.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mechanic.
And Board Member Mechanic, if I may, unless if you're time limited, like you have to leave, we're going to have you go after Board Member Henderson. Or do you have to leave at all, or?
Whenever.
Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's helpful. I think it's implicit in what you've put together here, but just to ask the question, there is no combination of a fare and decrease in ridership that would encompass and cover the deficit under any scenario, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Board Member Henderson, who's virtual, and then Board Member Mechanic. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. While I'm certainly not here to speak for the mayor, I don't think it's going to be as easy as we will be able to find the funding to cover this shortfall for the streetcar, because there are some very, very dire needs within the city of Tampa that we also need to address and which we are responsible for. One of the things that I'm also disappointed about is when you gave the option of either charging for the street fare or the second option. The third option should have been for you or us, HART, to take those funds from the reserves that you have, because you actually knew that this shortfall was going to take place, because the grant was going to expire. And so there should have been other opportunities or other conversations well in advance of this. The other thing that's in the back of my mind is that when Councilwoman Hurtak made this wonderful suggestion for us to pay for, the city of Tampa to pay for Route 1 for $1.6 million, at that time, HART should have said, well, we know that we're going to have this shortfall with the streetcar, and maybe if you want to help us, this is where you should help us, because this shortfall is going to happen with the streetcar, and we can look for other opportunities to either do a study and really address people who really do need our support on Route 1. And we can, provide some assistance that way, maybe through some other grants or other resources. So that's just my take on it. I do look forward for us, continuing to have this conversation. It's just difficult for me when there is no option for HART to take some sort of accountability, even though it was said that, you're never going to pay for the streetcar, when you do have some reserve funds that could at least, in some instances, support at least a portion of it to help us resolve this issue, instead of just saying that, option one is to ask the city for it. That is not the best solution, considering the circumstance where we have, of course, approved the $1.6 million. Now that it's passed, I did not support it for a variety of reasons, which I've also stated publicly on record. But that was also a time for HART to indicate that there are other needs within HART that, where this could be a better use, considering that there was no study done for Route 1 to really decide if that need is really necessary, which you are now, boldly advertising on your social media, that is going to be taking place, that HART is now free for Route 1. So that's basically it. Thank you for your time, Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Henderson. We appreciate you. Board Member Mechanic, go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to say that all of these efforts are underway and will continue to be underway. THS has constantly looked at opportunities for additional revenue sources, and we have beaten the bushes with Tico, a number of the businesses in Ybor and along the route, and we will continue to do that. Ultimately, I'm afraid it's going to, and I represent the city on the HART Board and on THS. Ultimately, I think it's a question to how much it's going to participate. But I just wanted to point out that all of these undertakings have been underway and continue to be underway.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here? Yes, sir.
Sorry to
No, you're
speak
fine.
twice. On your, the screen, I don't know that I have the page number, but you have the breakdown of the ridership. And it would seem to me, have you been able to determine what riders would be lost from amongst these groups? In other words, I mean, it seems to me that there's a pretty significant portion of the ridership that is going to create some economic impact. And are those the riders we're losing, or are those the riders we're retaining by implementing the fare? And would that information be helpful to Chairman Vieira in terms of his communications with the city?
I think that would be speculative. That level of detail is not really part of this analysis on who would ride and who wouldn't. But, you know, I think it was like 5% of the people were transferring from bus, so they would still be fare capped. So the people that are, you know, depending on it the most. But that we just don't have that level of detail. That would be a very probably intense survey effort and questionable methodology, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. And question for you, Mr. Willits. So this is for, because CRAs are always relevant, I think, to things like this. So this affects, you'd mentioned Channelside, Downtown, and Ybor City, correct? Those three?
Correct.
Okay, great, yeah. So as CEO Drainville said, we are planning on meeting with the mayor, and it's kind of strange because I'm the chairperson of HART, but then I'm appointed by the mayor to this committee, so there's a bunch of issues there. But obviously, I think that there are things that we want to push forward, which is, you know, making sure that we can do everything we can to preserve this, right? But under the proper definition of whose project it is, and that's something that we can discuss, while also, you know, looking at the fiscal stability of HART. That's something that's very, very important. I mentioned the CRAs because that's something that, and again, I'd have to, you know, look at the function of them, et cetera, that potentially, CRAs could potentially help in. I'd have to defer to our CRA attorney to see if it's something that they could. But that's kind of my frustration, because you take a look at the downtown CRA, we've spent a lot of money on things in the downtown CRA. $35 million on in the last year, no, strike that, $25 million for the Strat Center, another $25 million for the Museum of Art. That's just downtown. So I want to make sure that HART doesn't inadvertently have to carry a load for that issue. So again, there's a lot to discuss there. You know, with regards to the issue of Route 1, I'm a fan of the streetcar. I think it's great. But if I had to choose one project or the other, I would actually choose Route 1, because I think it benefits everyday working people a lot more. That's my reckoning. I don't know if I'm right there. That's just a reckoning. But I do think there's a way forward with this. And so we are going to be speaking with the administration, and we obviously have a good relationship with them. And I'm sure that we'll get something done that we can present to the board. So we're looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, on your time frame to meet with the mayor, when do you all anticipate that you all will be meeting with the mayor on this issue?
That's a good question. What do you think, next month or so?
Yeah,
Okay.
within the next few weeks, couple of weeks.
So I mean, we'll hear a report back at the February meeting, perhaps?
We can aspire for that, and I think
Okay.
we can probably do that. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay. We are finished with our presentations, and thank you for everyone's input, et cetera, on it. Next is our Chief Executive Officer's report. Mr. Drainville, you're recognized for your report, including the fiscal year 2024 Performance Scorecard Report and introduction of the FY 2025 Performance Scorecard. Go ahead, sir.
And I would ask, in the essence of time, would the chair of the board be okay if I defer? It's a lengthy informational scorecard, and I could do that in February if the board's okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, I would like to recognize we have two new appointees to the HART leadership team. When you hear your name, would you please stand to be recognized? So Director of Bus Operations, Mr. Anthony Hayward. He's an accomplished transit leader with 20 years of experience in bus transportation and operations management, showcasing a strong track record in enhancing safety, performance, and driving financial accuracy. Anthony demonstrates exceptional leadership and customer relations skills, successfully achieves sustainable improvements in on-time performance and operational efficiency. Anthony mostly served as the general manager for Lake County Transit and is a graduate of Howard University. So welcome. And then for Director of Paratransit, Mr. James Sakor. Mr. Sakor is a seasoned transportation management professional with over 15 years of leadership experience in overseeing operations, contract compliance, and customer service within the public and private sectors. With a proven track record of managing multi-million-dollar budgets, supervising diverse teams, and ensuring ADA compliance, he excels in optimizing paratransit and mobility service. James is dedicated to improving operational efficiency, enhancing customer satisfaction, and fostering equitable access to transportation solutions. So, welcome. And that concludes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, very quickly, if I may. Number one, today is the Three Kings Day. Happy Dia de los Reyes, if anybody celebrates that. I grew up celebrating that. Thank you again, board members, for another, trust me, as another term as chair. I really appreciate that. Just a couple of your trust, et cetera. A couple of brief updates. We've obviously started with Route 1. We had something this morning with Councilwoman Hertek out there, and we're all very excited about it, et cetera. We had a town hall in December of last year. Board member Schisler was there for HART employees, and we were there for a while. It was like an hour and a half, if I recall, and it was very beneficial. I'm going to state what I said in the HART worker meeting, which is to HART workers, that if any of y'all have any hurricane challenges or anything of that nature that my office can help with, please let us know. Please. I mean, whether it's city, county, whatever, we want to help people. And it's a lot of challenges out there. And we obviously have the legislative session coming up, so please keep updated with our friends in Tallahassee for that. And I know we have public comment coming on. I am going to talk to staff about some potential changes to this. When I'll talk about it privately, but maybe having 30 minutes at the front for people who don't have 2 hours to wait on a Monday, et cetera, looking for some sort of a compromise. I think that's something that would make sense, but I'll talk about that offline for purposes of time, and that's it. So general counsel's report, if anything, Manny?
I have nothing further, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. And were you? Oh, sorry. Okay, HART Board member committee reports are in section 12 of the packets. Reports from HART Board representatives are in 13, or strike that, in section 13. Information reports are in section 14. Okay, next is public comment regarding general concerns. The limit is 3 minutes per speaker with an overall 30-minute time limit. I don't think we'll have a challenge there. Excuse me. Before we open public comment, I would like to read the following statement into the record to reaffirm the HART Board of Directors welcomes comments from citizens about any issue or concern. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing input to the board members. When addressing the board, comments shall please not be directed personally against a board member or staff member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides mutual respect between the board members, staff, and the public. The board has set aside a 30-minute period for public comment in compliance with HART Board Policy 210, subsection 4A. Speakers were able to sign up to speak either in person or virtually at meetings by contacting the board administrator before 5 p.m. yesterday. Speakers were also given a chance to sign up in person today. I will call on speakers by name in the order in which your requests to speak have been received. When addressing the board, Please state your name and speak clearly. Up to 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker. Please refrain from any discussions in any matter brought up during public comment until, and this is for the board members, until after public comment has been completed. So we shall begin with Mr. Michael Burnett.
Good morning, Michael Burnett. Can you make sure they get a copy of that? That's the red line runs for 2024. The red line runs, so I guess he left all that out. So I guess we probably have a lot more ridership if those buses was out there. So that's the whole packet of every month that we red line runs. And I also have another concern, which is violating our contract again. Over and over, the same situation is happening where they violate our contract whenever they want, however they want. I mean, it affects the whole membership. Okay? So we had a bid. Everybody bid it under the last markup, which was the extra board, which I'm an extra board operator. I've been here 19 years. So on this markup, they just changed the whole way they assign off-day operators work. So I say this, they could at least gave us the opportunity before they changed it, which they didn't have the right to change it because it's under the contract, that the extra board off-day operator go ahead of the regular operator day off. It's clear. It's clear. So this is what we're dealing with. And this is why we have to bring it to the board members, because HR is not helping us at all. So, you know, we have to understand that mental health is very important. So if we getting hammered by management, then we got to go out there and get hammered by the public. It's very hard. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Next is Anitria Drummer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As he stated, my name is Anitria Drummer. I'm here to represent myself. This past October, I was wrongfully terminated. I called off due to a medical emergency. I turned in documentation, as always. It was decided in this instance that this documentation would no longer be accepted without any warning of such. I was asked for more personal information, and I expressed that I was not comfortable with providing more personal, documentation, and the HR representative informed me that in order to consider my medical emergency, I would need to provide more. I went back to the emergency room. They gave me an emergency note for that day and included my diagnoses on that paper. And I also was subjected to sitting in a hearing with a male manager and a male union member and having to disclose personal information to try to keep my job, even though I've already provided proof that I went to the emergency room. That was very embarrassing and humiliating for me. And all I want is, I'm here today because I feel like I've been punished for something beyond my control and following my contract, and it was not upheld or respected. And I just would like HART to show some integrity and take some accountability and right a wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Drummer. We appreciate you, ma'am. Next is Mr. John Green, followed thereafter by Bishop Michelle Patty and Ms. Peebles. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, I'm John Green. I got some information being passed out, but I want to start out with Mr. Stephen Fields sending emails from his job to females on the job saying that done by the king is done. What is he running, or what is his organization running? This should be discrimination, and he should be disciplined for sending an email to females on the job saying that he's the king, right? And it's in your packet. I highlighted a couple things, right? The second is from the ATU president. It reads, "The union members do not understand why we are looked down or disrespected by the chief and directors of HART." If you look at the board meeting from Monday, July 15th, their facial expression says it all. Mr. CEO, the members and the contract are violated daily. We have a manager that uses derogatory statements about how she runs her area. So a lot of these members write complaints and they are looked over. Where do we go? Whom do we talk? Where do we trust without retaliation happening? This coming from your president of the ATU current, right? And then she goes on to talk about me having meetings with this board meeting, which is fabricated, right? Then she goes on, this is from July. Back in August 2023, she reminds the CEO again about retaliation. The CEO has a sidebar during one of these meetings saying he don't like it when I mentioned it. So now I just bring receipts so you can see it personally. And then she says, operators file CEO complaints. Well, first she informed the CEO that a HIPAA PERC was doing a civil rights investigation. She forewarned him. That wasn't bad. But when she names the people, it's not fair for the employee who filed this CEO complaint that the employees don't have due process. And she doubled downs again on this next page saying that retaliation. So retaliation been going on, right? A young lady got fired for being off the clock, signing her bus in. And the directive was given for her to go back to the bus without any recourse. And she said, I'm going home. And Stephen Fields in this operation are firing people and during the holidays. This is unacceptable, right? And this is HART's history. Everything is gloom and dory on the outside, making the public look good, but not good for internal business.
Thank you, sir.
Operation Stephen Fields need to be fired. This is not a kingdomship. This is an employment.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your comments. Next is Bishop Michelle Patty, followed by Ms. Peebles and Ms. Jones. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Bishop Michelle B. Patty. The last time I spoke before this board, I came here to talk about the HIPAA law, which is a policy that is being violated by your HR. You've heard from the young lady. Today, I brought you proof of this policy that is being violated. Here you have people that are calling out that they're sick, but they're being told that they have to go to the emergency room. The emergency room is for people that are having COVID, heart attack, stroke, severe car accident, shooting and stabbing. Here it said clearly, the notes was from a primary care doctor and not an emergency room, nor is there a diagnosis attached to review. Okay, when you go to the emergency room, what they tell you to do, follow up with your doctor. So why is an MD who has given them a permit that they were there, why should they have to go to an emergency room, hindering people who actually need emergency care? This is being done. Through those documents, the young lady said clearly, that there was sensitive information that she didn't want to give out about her medical record. But they told her she would have to do that in order to comply to keep her job. So once again, they're being violated here at through your HR department. So we have documentation after documentation saying that for reconsideration, please submit your emergency room discharge paper that shows the visit date and reason for the visit. So here on another sheet, another person, it says clearly for reconsideration, please send all of the discharge paperwork pages without obscure information in reference to medical emergency dates. So this is clearly a violation that you all say y'all take care of policy. This is a policy that is being violated over and over. And right now we're asking that you all do ask for internal investigation to find out why this is being taken place. But yet, why should people have to go to emergency room? If you ever gone to emergency room, you're there all day and all night. So instead of the person maybe missing 1 day, now they're missing 2 and 3 days because they're being forced to go to emergency room. The MDs that are seeing these patients should be sufficed. Secondly, I want to speak very clear on the fact that you're putting people last, the public. I am a taxpayer, been born and raised here 71 years. I've never seen where you change your public comment. They were given in the front, but now you're making people wait when some of the board members have left. Other people have to leave. These hard drivers have to go for their job, but you're keeping them here this time. So we need to revisit that and put it back at the beginning.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you. Next is Ms. Peebles, and thereafter Ms. Jones.
Yes, hi. Happy New Year to everyone in this room. I come before you in reference to the bus drivers and the middle class staff and down. I want you to understand, once again, you need to do better by your drivers. You don't know what they go through out here. I'm a rider. I ride the bus at least 5 to 6 times during the week. I ride sometimes 4, 5, and 10 buses within a relevant day because of how I got to get around. But my thing is, I appreciate these drivers because they are struggling out here. You don't know what they have to go through with the wheelchairs. You don't know what they have to go through with the walkers. And you don't know what they have to go through with the bag ladies that have to get their groceries and different things home, and the attitude people and the positive attitude people. You have got to understand this is a multi-million-dollar business, and y'all got to get better. Look in the mirror at yourselves and ask yourselves, why am I sitting on this board? Am I making a difference? You want to make decisions, but you're not making the right decisions when it comes down to your staff, the ones that's out here really doing all the work. And another thing, I understand that when Milton was here, President Biden came down and declared Florida a state of disaster. What did you offer your staff in reference to their families and them? I was told they didn't get anything, and that's sad because so many other businesses and different things offered their staff quite a bit, and y'all didn't give them anything. That is so sad. But let me let you know something. I'm going to keep coming here knocking on the door. Nobody's going to stop me. Nobody. Because this is important. This is a community business that's operating for all nationality of people. We board these buses because we depend on the buses to get us to point A to point Z. We have got to understand it's the community that's in need, but it's also the staff that has to get better. And in closing, please do the right thing. I'll see you next month. And as I always say, let my name roll off your lips. Let my name marinate in your mind, because I got plenty of time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Ms. Jones.
Good morning, board. Good morning, Chair, CEO.
don't know what to say, actually. My name is Letitia Jones. I'm the president of ATU. And I hear my coworkers saying a lot of things. Some of the things true. Some of the things are not true. I actually came to speak on an agenda item, but I was late for public comment due to being on the Route 1 this morning. It is a busy route now. Thank you, guys. The passengers on that route say thank you. I read the evaluation for our CEO, and I personally wanted to say kudos to him as well. He has done a lot of things that I've been here 12 years that I have not seen CEOs do. He brought the finance department to 21st. Never in the history that has been done, to explain the revenue and where we at. There are days you could be looking for him and he's out on a route, riding. Days you look for him, he's in the driver lounge talking to the operators. That speaks volumes in my eyes, that he leads by example. Now, for this other stuff, I would not air out employee behavior or their personal feelings or emails they have read that I may have sent on behalf of someone else because I am the president of this local. Don't mean I feel that way. But I have to do as far as the folks that I represent. Most of you guys are attorneys, so you understand what I'm saying. Don't mean I agree, but I represent them. But I represent the local with integrity and with character. And this is not the place that we should be coming down here airing out our employment behavior. We have an HR department that we need to believe in and hold them accountable. And if the HR department is not being held accountable, then that's when the CEO comes in, not the board. That's it. Y'all have a great morning.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you. Anybody else here for public comment today? Anybody? Okay. Okay. Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
I have one.
Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Mr. Drainsville, could you just bring back to the board a copy of the original and current contract for the naming of the Tico streetcar?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. And no motion on that, just a request? Okay, cool. Any other new business? Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, board and public.
Dude, she just
ended
that guy.
The what?
She just ended that guy.
I know. By the way, I needed...
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.